Okay, I've made this video, I'm going to make this video to kind of explain how to set up a micro FPV system. This model is only 26 inches wingspan, but it has a fully functioning pan and tilt gimbal, which is made really from bits of plywood and lolly stick. So it's really cheap to do and anyone can do it. There's a little servo which is a UMX servo under the camera, which is used in the little UMX micro models. You need a 3.3 volt regulator for that, which are easily fitted and easy to obtain, and they're quite small. My radio is a Taranis, and on the Taranis I'm using Crossfire, and that's the Crossfire module there. This shoddy cable that works is my head tracking cable. I've got this elbow connector here, so you plug that into there. So it's easier because you can't get it straight through into there, and it also keeps it out of the way, stops it getting damaged on the ground when you put it flat like that. And these are my old Fat Shark goggles, which are good enough for me. It's got a rapid fire module in there. That's a really good thing to have, because it helps you massively get a good signal, way over the other modules that I've tried. So that's highly recommended. And this antenna is an Omni, 5.8 Omni, so it gives you a directional all around reception. This here is a 3 turn. You can get 7 turns, but I wanted a wider beam. I don't really fly that far away, so the wider beam gives you more scope for, actually this is 5 turn, I thought it was 3, it's 5 turn, but it does gives you a smaller beam anyway. So that works really well. This is the cockpit I built. The original cockpit section of this model is here, and this here is the piece of PETG which I've cut around, screwed it on there. That's my little pilot. There's my control board, HD recording board. Is an SD card slot on there. This is the Nano Runcam Split 3 module sensor camera, and on here we have Flytron strobes. They're amazing. So there's one on the top and one on the bottom. I'll show you them working later. This here is the AXI antenna for my Tramp HV 600mW video transmitter, which is embedded into the wing, which is there. That's got a little heat shrink on that because they do generate quite a bit of heat, so when you're on the ground it stops it overheating. But the good thing about Tramps is they've got a temperature cut off anyway, so they don't overheat. So if it gets too hot, it just closes down this output to keep it cooler until you start flying, and then it's back on again. This is my Crossfire micro antenna. I'll put a link into the one I've used in this video, but this is the antennas for it. That's just inside there is a cable tie, and I've just cut the end of it off, and I've put the antenna on there and put heat shrink over that, just a little bit of glue either side. And on the bottom here, you have to put these in the right way, by the way. There's a top and a bottom, but it's easy to ascertain. So that's the external side of the model. Let's go to the motor. This is a little 2200 kV, used to be called a park jet motor. You can't buy them anymore, but there's lots of equivalent motors around you can use, a lot of mini quads. The elevators have a function I put in, so you can flick a switch and you get some up trim, which helps massively on the launches in stabilised mode, so you just switch that off once you start flying. I've had some trauma with this model. I've crashed it a couple of times and broken the nose off here, which all hawks always tend to break there. But since I've had the stabilised mode, I've flown it twice, and the takeoffs are really easy from hand. You just throw it and it sorts itself out, keeps itself level, climbs away, and then you just switch the up trim off and then fly around. It's perfect. Anyway, this is held on with a magnet at the back. I'll put on there and on there. And on here we have 3.3 volt regulator there. There's another regulator on this side, which I've glued into the side of the pan and tilt mount. Pan and tilt gimbal, because it just gets in the way when trying to get the battery in. So GPS module is there. This little battery here is for the if I can find the cable, I'll show you it working. I just recently pulled this back together, so it's up here, I think. Yeah, look. So you take that out of there. Don't have to take it out of there. I've got a look. It's just in a Depron box. But what you do is you plug that into there. I'll show you that later. That just plugs into there. It's a 1S battery. Powers the nose light. Powers that Flytron strobe there and the one underneath. What else have we got? Okay, we've got, like I say, this is in line, this 3.3 volt regulator. It's split to run this little servo which controls the pilot's head movement. That's tiny, that servo, as you can see. So that's connected with the pan servo. So you've got like I made a kind of Y connection on there, I soldered it all in. That works really well. That's the camera plug. And if you can't try and kind of keep things minimum, because there's not a lot of room in here, and the battery fitting is a bit of a bear. I'm going to show you now. In order to get the battery in, you have to put it this way around with this, like this. I'll show you why. You can't go that way, it just won't work because you can't get the canopy down. So move all those wires out of the way first. Put the battery in there, and before you do anything, turn your radio on.
Throttle warning. Switch warning. Stability mode.
Right, that's in stability mode. I'm going to put it in
Manual mode.
manual mode. Okay, plug that in. I'll change these connectors from XT60s to XT30s because they deliver 30 amps continuous, which is perfect for this. Saves a lot of room. With the intention being to save room to make it easier to install the battery to fly it. So what you want to do now is, again, pull these wires out of the way, push the battery down to there. That's a tight fit in there. Doesn't need any Velcro or strap. It just is tight, so it just stays where it is. That will never come away. There's GPS flashing. It's flashing because it hasn't got a GPS lock because I'm indoors, so you can't really do that at the moment.
6.
Right, this is the tough bit. That's the countdown on my transmitter from 7 minutes. Just letting you know I'm at 6. Right, so the job here now is to make sure that wire is pushed down. That has to be out of the way because you cannot get the canopy down with it up. Then you get these wires, feed them all in just to get them out of the way, but make sure they're behind this front module because you will not get this down if these are in the way. It's a bit of a pain, but this micro FPV for you. Right. Forward canopy goes into a lip under there, and that's on. Right, so here's the controls. Elevator 6 mil up and down. The rudder is great. That's the knife edge flight. It's absolutely brilliant. It's real knife edge all day long, not a problem. You can fly complete circuits with it. So this will be getting warm now because it's indoors, but like I say, the heat shrink is helping keep that cooler, and the radio's all connected. So in the radio, let's go into the menu. Okay, so you always set the co-pilot up with these 4 basic controls, always at 100, always. No exception. Inputs 100, aileron, elevator, throttle and rudder. Next page, it's the mixes page. So this is where my mixes are for this model, including the pan and tilt, which is down here, TR7 and TR8. It can be channel 6 and channel 7, doesn't matter. That's how I've set it up. exit that. Next page. I've adjusted the sub trim for the tilt mechanism and the pan a little bit, so you can just play with that to suit your setup with your goggles. And really I've done nothing else. So get out of that one. It's got some telemetry which is really good from there, obviously. It tells you if telemetry is poor when you're flying, so that's really good. What else to tell you? Oh yeah, go to menu again. Oops. Menu again. On the first page you want to set, I've got a timer on there as well, but I've also got extended limits. Tick that box, or check it if you're in America. And extended trims, I've set that as well. Not sure if that's really needed, but I've set it anyway. That gives me a lot more movement on the pan servo and the tilt servo. Inside there's a, under here, the co-pilot is mounted, you can't see it with this off. And also next to that there's a S-Bus decoder board which is used solely for the pan and tilt because you can't get enough out from the crossfire connection. So I only use that for that, is that I've got a Y lead coming off there, Y lead from the transmitter, sorry, the receiver into the decoder. That's the S-Bus in. And I've got a Y lead coming off that, which S-Bus goes into the co-pilot. And then you set it up like that, and then you can access all of the channels. You need to do some basic settings in your crossfire as well to achieve that. So can't think what else to say really. I think I've discussed it all much as I can remember. The pilot's head now moves with the tilt, with the pan on there, so when I'm flying along, just for a bit of fun, you can see his head move left and right. There's quite a good view along the wings, because I've got a couple of resistors in a tiny little servo for the pan. All this small gear you need. Got a nose light as well. Right, I'm going to show you the strobes now. Right, the strobes, here we go. You just put this 1S battery connected to this. This has got 3 connections off of this. So it's just one battery. This lasts for ages, by the way. And I'll just put that in there. To fly, that won't come out. It's got a friction fit in there. And that's how you do it. So if I can get this back on, let's have a look. Show you this work. There you go. There's a nose light there. There's the nose light, and there's a strobe underneath. So if you like this, if you want to get into micro FPV, it is possible. And to fly it, it feels the same as flying any bigger model. I've flown all kinds of FPV models, and this suits me perfectly because I can just throw it off the field where I live, land it on the grass. It's absolutely brilliant, and you don't need a massive, great big model. I mean, look at the size of it. It's small, right? Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope it helps. If you've got any questions, you want to get into micro FPV setups, let me know, and I'll do my best to help. Thanks a lot for watching.